Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast. As you know, I am your host, Steve Smith, the Golfing Greenkeeper. This one is something a little bit different. We change gears. We're going to a slightly different segment this time around, something that I haven't done for quite some time to bring you some new information. This one is called Inside the Greenkeepers Shed. So sit back and enjoy this one. This is episode number 89. Ladies and gentlemen, this is I haven't done one for quite some time for Inside the Greenkeeper Shed. And the idea of this is we give people who are golfers who might not be so sure about what happens behind the scenes of maintaining a golf course. This is a little bit different to the Keeper of the Greens. I've got to say John Deere Golf Keeper of the Greens. It's a little bit different to that. This one's more about sort of the processes in place and a little bit more of a friendlier version and a little bit more of a way of an understanding of how we go about preparing golf courses. And this one today is going to be tournament golf. So I've got on the line for us today, Nico Douglas, Superintendent at Cranbourne Golf Club down in Melbourne. G'day, Nico. How you doing, mate?
I'm well, thanks, Steve. How are you going?
Mate, I'm very, very well. I'm sure you're, this is recorded it's just the start of spring, so things are looking up for you down there. It's getting warmer and a little bit, things are starting to wake up, is it? Is that what goes on in the Sandbelt?
Yeah, particularly the last couple of weeks, we've really noticed, especially our couch grass services, the colours bouncing back and we're having to mow more often. So, yeah, it's a good time of year, actually. I really enjoy it.
I'm a big fan of spring. Growing up in the mountains, in the Blue Mountains, was always like you get all the cherry blossoms and all the bulbs are coming out and all sorts of different parts of the beautiful gardens that are up there, along with the courses waking up. So it's a beautiful time of the year. I don't think it matters where you are in the country. Mate, this is Inside the Greenkeeper Shed. So this is for a lot of people, for maybe young greenkeepers, people who haven't been around a long time, and even you're going to explain to us a little bit of your experience, people who have been around for quite some time. We're going to do tournament golf preparation and tournament golf setup on the back of your experience at LIV Golf in Adelaide earlier this year. And I did hope to do this earlier. It's taken me a little while to get myself together. But here we are. And after it's just been announced, obviously, new dates for LIV Adelaide in 2025 is going to February. Mate, let's get a little bit of a feel for you. You volunteered down there for LIV Golf for the week. Can you give us a bit of a sort of a background to how you got into that? How did you manage to put your name down and what was involved in the process of getting involved to be a volunteer at the preparation, the tournament prep for LIV Golf in Adelaide?
Yeah, sure. Why I wanted to do it was primarily because I'd only really worked small tournaments in the past, probably the biggest being like the Australian Amateur. I've worked that several times at courses in Melbourne, and we actually hosted that at Cranbourne in 2022, and funnily enough, co-hosting it again in 2025. But,
yep.
Sort of when you become an assistant superintendent, thereabouts, for me anyway, it was sort of all about trying to put my best foot forward to gain a superintendent's role. So, I was hyper-focused on that. And then, obviously got one and wanted to succeed in that. So I really hadn't had the opportunity to do what I'd consider a large-scale event. For whatever reason, I didn't do it when I was younger or an apprentice or anything. So now that I'm sort of settled in the role at Cranbourne, I'm nearly 3 years into that now. So I took the opportunity to do LIV. It's a really cool event, and I just thought it'd be awesome. So, I think early in the year, Rowan Damon, the course superintendent at Grange, he put the call out for volunteers, and it was as simple as applying online. And they got back to me within the next couple of weeks, and we went from there.
Mate, pretty interesting. Like you say, you've sort of been in the role as a super there at Cranbourne for a few years and wanting to get a little bit more experience in tournament prep stuff. Do you look for, as a volunteer, and you're under the leadership and the guidance of the superintendent for these tournaments, and in this instance at LIV Adelaide, it was Rowan Damon, who we've had on the podcast. Thankfully, he was a great guest. Is the idea there about you get to learn by seeing and being part of and listening and seeing things that you haven't had a chance to do before, and it may be a different place and certainly for a different reason? Is that something that you get out of it too?
Yeah, I think potentially it's different for different stages of your career, but for me as a superintendent, maybe it's a little different than if you're going there as an apprentice or just a core staff member. But for me, yeah, we'd hosted the OzAM in Cranbourne in 2022. Obviously, we've got it again next year, and for me as a superintendent, it was about going to something like LIV, which is, obviously a pretty big event, I think, and just seeing how things are done for an event of that sort of stature and magnitude. So, yeah, that's what I was trying to take out of it. How do you coordinate that many volunteers, all the signage and everything, and the structures that are there? How do you work around that? And, how do you get the best out of your turf for an event of that magnitude?
It was certainly a pretty big deal, and I was lucky enough to get down there for the Sunday day. I made a day trip again from Sydney, which is no small feat in itself. But you'd been down there for the week, and we sort of got a brief chance to catch up during that time on the Sunday. I caught up with Rowan as well, and just his expressions, his gratitude, the way that the professionalism that I saw for the few moments that I was able to catch up with him about everything that he had achieved and that everyone involved in the team had achieved, along with the club. I mean, there's so much involved, and you've sort of kind of swooped in with this swell of I suppose, complimentary support to be able to put that event on. Can you, I suppose, give us a little bit of insight for one? Did you know anyone going down there when you put your name in? Was it a little bit of a go with some other people and be part of it? And kind of what was it like in that team environment? Because it's quite a different style of team environment, isn't it?
Yeah, so no, I didn't know anyone doing it. It's perhaps a little unorthodox for a somewhat established superintendent to do something like LIV Golf over in another state.
Yep.
I'd say most of the other volunteers were apprentices or core staff. There were a couple of assistants, but I don't know if I'm correct in saying this, but I think I was the only other superintendent over there volunteering. So okay. No, didn't know anyone, but you're sort of all thrust into this environment, and it's sort of go from the minute you get there. But that's kind of a good thing. There's no egos. You leave your ego at the door. Not that anyone really has any, but you meet people and everyone gets along really well, and you sort of have this bond because you're all volunteers. You're not being paid to go there. You don't have to go there, so you're all doing this because you want to do it. So it's a really good environment, and everyone's sort of striving for the same thing. It's pretty cool.
What sort of can you tell us maybe some of the types of tasks that you do? How long were you there for? Was it for a couple of days for the weekend? I can't remember when I spoke to you. How long were you there for?
So I drove up on the Sunday before the event.
Wow. Okay.
We had an induction on the Sunday afternoon. And then obviously practice rounds Monday, Tuesday. There was a pro-am the Wednesday, and then the event. So I was there from Sunday till the following Monday. So
yeah. Okay. So for
8 days or something for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
You asked me what roles I was doing.
What sort of tasks would get thrown around for the volunteer group? How does it work? What did you see?
So, me personally, I think Rowan was probably looking after me a little bit with job selection. Most of my week was spent collecting data. So, this entailed taking stimp meter readings in the morning.
Oh, I don't know whether we're allowed to talk numbers.
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk numbers too, so I'll just say
We'll leave that.
If desired speeds weren't achieved on any individual green, we would then radio for that green and note again, and then repeat the process until the desired speed was reached.
Okay.
We also took a firmness reading each morning, which sort of worked in with the POGO readings, which is to measure moisture in the profile. And the weather was perfect throughout the week. It was sort of low to mid-20s, and you could see the firmness was progressively getting better in the greens. There was minimal hand watering required. So, yeah, a lot of my week was spent collecting data, but a couple of mornings I was in the bunkers. On the first practice rounds, the bunkers were broomed and raked, and then the second day they were just boarded flat. I think I've got that the right way around.
Yep.
And the feedback from the players was that they preferred them just boarded flat. So for the rest of the week, including the weekend and everything, all we did was we were just boarding everything dead flat. So, and I have to say that some of the best maintained bunkers I've ever seen.
So boarding them flat, is that? And I did remember seeing some of that around there, because there was a couple of bunkers as a spectator that I got to see up close.
Mm-hmm.
Did that entail? It's obviously just using quite a board that rakes it. Boards it almost smooth, right?
Correct. Yeah, I just think the caliber of golfer prefers to play off that smooth, potentially slightly firmer surface.
Yep.
And they were dead flat, the base of the bunkers.
And this is one of my things, and I'm just throwing and spitballing, as it were, things out there while we're talking about it. I'm probably of a different mindset about bunker preparation for golf, but this is a tournament. Like every tournament, there's different ways of preparing for the field, as it were, and what the organisers of the event want to get out of it. Boarding them flat is quite different to what we all know, which are rakes in bunkers that leave little furrows.
Mm-hmm.
So a ball is going to sit quite proudly on top of that sand, almost like just a bare lie, in effect, I guess.
Yes, that's right. And I'm no great golfer myself, but I can see, like at Cranbourne, for instance, our fairway bunkers will generally just board those flat, because I think, for the average golfer, the further out you are, you want that firmer lie if you're going to play a long iron. But then, close to the green where you're playing a sand iron, most golfers, I think, would prefer that fluffy raked lie. But as you said, like that, the ball sitting up on just a flat surface, the pros just prefer that, it seems.
I think that's a tailored detail, obviously, on the way that certain things are. And that's obviously part of, I can't speak for any of the other events of LIV, for example. I have no idea how they prep their bunkers, but that's an interesting detail that for the golf fans out there and for the golfers out there to understand those differences. At your normal golf course, you're not going to get the boarded. You mentioned at Cranbourne. Do you know of other courses that board their bunker bases?
Yes, I do. I think it's quite popular down here in the Sandbelt, particularly fairway bunkers. The longer shot out of the bunker where you want to take a full swing with a longer iron. I know a lot of clubs are doing that.
There you go. So is that done by hand because that's not a small area? You got to do a lot of handwork in that, right?
Yeah. If you don't have sort of half your labour in the bunkers, if you're going to be doing that, it's going to take a long time. It's pretty laborious, but it's a great result. So
okay, interesting.
I
like it.
For us at Cranbourne, fairway bunkers, and then there are times you'll renovate bunkers and board them out flat, but on a sort of day-to-day basis, just for us, it's those bunkers that are sort of further out that we do it to.
So that's an interesting detail for tournament preparation that people may not have noticed on television, for example, or they saw it and weren't sure what that was to get that finished look in prep for the tournament for each of the rounds, which is an interesting one. So I like that you've been able to share that with us, mate, for people that aren't sure. These are the details. This is what I want to try and learn and be able to express to the general populace out there that may not be aware of these little things that are part of the process, and there's a lot of work in that.
For sure. And then just back to the jobs on the final morning, I actually got to mow fairways, which was awesome because as an apprentice, it was one of my favourite jobs, and it's not something I really do anymore as a superintendent. So I was stoked to see my name up on the board, and
nice.
Again, a little bit of a point of difference to how probably your regular maintenance is happening week to week. They're cutting all the same direction. So the whole fairway is cut in a big line. I think we had 5 or 6 mowers
right.
in the line going up. You might come back down the fairway right next to it and then come up again. So all light or dark, depending on which way you're looking at.
Yep.
No stripes, no shadow cut.
All that one, all that one colour, one direction. Because then that pushes the grain in one direction as well, doesn't it? I mean, there's probably not a lot of grain, but at those heights, to be fair, what was it, 8 mil?
Believe
fairways?
Fairways for 8 mil. Yep.
That's insane.
And they were mint. Yeah, they were mint.
And you know what? I think I said to Rowan, I had him on walking the fairways earlier in the year, and I said I noticed walking on those fairways when I arrived, they felt tighter as well. Even though last year they were still cut at 8, it just, I don't know what the prep was. It was moderately different, but geez, my Lord, they were rolling out incredibly well. That was a drier prep, obviously leading into the tournament, but they just looked smoother. They felt smoother just when you're walking across the fairways. It was amazing.
Yeah. Well, I think, did he say on the podcast that they had a lot of rain leading into the previous event?
Yeah, that's right. The first one, because I interviewed him after the first LIV, and he was talking about, because they had quite a little bit of, I suppose, damage of setup and pack down from the event because it was so soft. Whereas this one was quite different. Yeah,
exactly.
So
that was, the fairways were awesome. And I think just cutting all the same direction, it sort of lets the golf course show off. It's not, you're not relying on stripes or a pattern to sort of show off your fairways. It really shows off all the undulations and the design of the holes.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. It totally does. Your eye isn't led away by patterns that grab it. It's purely the lay of the golf course that is what is captured in your eyes, and how the bunkers are laid out, and shapes, and like you said, shadows, and the lights and the dark colours of the lay of the land with the sun, and all those bits and pieces. Quite fascinating, which is a great presentation result in a different way. But we see that a lot more in Australia, from what I gather, of tournament prep golf courses in this country, relative to, I suppose, some of the American-style courses that we see. Not speaking of Augusta, or even the US Open, but a lot of the PGA Tour stuff.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
So, quite interesting. So, did you were talking about data collection? I'm interested to probably dig into that a little bit more, and what is garnered from that information. You mentioned specifically about if you didn't reach a target speed, maybe we can mention a target speed as opposed to what you actually recorded. Did they talk about targets?
I believe the desired speed was 12 foot.
Okay, so
5, something like that.
Yep. Okay, so that's a stimp meter reading, and for anyone that's not sure, it's like a simple little tool that's used to measure the rollout distance of a golf ball on a flat surface on a green, and we talk often in feet and inches because it's an American, I suppose, based thing. I don't know it. It's like height of a human. You know, if you said to me it's someone's 1.5, I have no idea what that means. They could be the size of a tree that's bigger than a house, or the height of the car. I have no clue. But stimp meters are the same thing.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? But I believe it was 12 and a half feet.
So that was the desired. So you were working around that. So that was, how regular did you do those? The morning and just before the tournaments for the play?
Every day, before play. So you do it, greens would be cut, either a single or a double cut. Most mornings it was a single. And then you would stimp the green. If that desired speed hadn't been reached, you'd then radio someone to come back and give it a second cut.
Right.
Then stimp it again. Rarely did you need to put 3 cuts on, but it did happen from time to time. Yeah, right. They didn't roll greens for the whole week, so it was just.
Oh, really? That was going to be a next question, was who was bouncing around the roll. So they didn't do that. No. Okay. These are all the things that I suppose just goes into the planning from Rowan's side of things, and on the best way to get the best out of the golf course. Yeah,
I think just if they can control their firmness, which Mother Nature played its part, so they could. They can control how much water's going in the green, the firmness, and the speed. You didn't need to put a roller over those greens. You saw how they rolled.
Oh, they were unbelievable, honestly. So, and they were flat and smooth. I mean, I don't think anyone could pick a fault. And this goes for, let's call it for what it is, across the tournaments that we hold, the major tournaments in this country. It doesn't matter what one we're talking about, whether it's LIV or the Australian Open or the PGA. They are all absolutely incredible surfaces, aren't they, from what we see?
100%. Yeah. You never see a bad one.
And you're speaking obviously for the ones that you were there prepping. I'm curious about that you talked about firmness of the green. Do you use a tool like a Clegg for measuring that?
It was a True Firm meter by Field Scout.
Okay,
it's essentially the same thing.
It's their version.
You're pulling up a sort of a weight and you're dropping it from a height.
Yep.
And then it gives you a reading. I can't remember the readings.
Yep.
So I wish I could, but I didn't write them down. So, but yeah, all I can remember is that they were progressively getting firmer throughout the week, which was the intention.
And I suppose I'm going to ask because I have no idea. Is the Pro-Am used as a little bit of I suppose, a checkpoint in the lead up to the tournament in a way? I don't know.
I suppose so. Being a volunteer, you're not really privy to a lot of that sort of, in-depth information. I think the practice rounds were sort of more of it, like, even for us, it was getting our timings right. You could send out all the jobs and I'm sure Rowan was gauging how long things are taking. Are we going to be able to stay ahead of the field? All of that sort of stuff. Yeah, the Pro-Am was the Wednesday, so we'd already had 3 full mornings of prep when the Pro-Am was on. So we had... Yeah, wow. We were all over it by that point.
What's it like? Is there any... Because you talked about timing and you got to have things done, especially when it comes to the tournament. Do you feel any pressure on timing, making sure you get the job done right, making sure you get it done in a timely fashion to be off television and not one of those people that's hanging around going, what's going on out here? They're still out there. Like, is it a well-oiled machine? Because it's a lot of different people. You don't know how to work together. I mean, there's 30 from thereabouts from the team that's at the Grange. I think there was about 30 volunteers that come in, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, there was 50-something total, I think. So,
yeah, and so how quickly do you have to really sort of get on your groove and get going?
No, to be honest, not at all. We started early. We started at 4:30. You were at the shed at 4 a.m. For a 4:30 start.
Yep.
It gave you ample time. There was lots of numbers, obviously. I never once felt under pressure from golf. You just did the job to the best of your ability, and we were meticulous with our presentation, and it worked really well. And that's a credit to Rowan and his team. Like, they'd obviously put a lot of work into organising how that was going to work. All the volunteers, you were never on your own with a group of volunteers. You always had Grange staff with you, so you were never lost. It was fantastic.
That's pretty good because, I mean, like, second time round for Ryan in this. And I was talking to him just the other day, asking him a little bit about some bits and pieces, and he was saying, that they've held the Women's Open there, I think it was, previously. So obviously he's got a background in tournament prep. It's not like he's coming stone cold from nowhere. I mean, he's got experience in it as well, which is part of the reason why I'm sure LIV have gone there. They know a little bit about it. So, again, credit to Rowan. And the leadership group that he's got around him, and the people that he's selected to be, the leaders in that, guiding the team, guiding the extendeds, guiding you guys volunteers who don't know the place. So there's a lot of, I suppose, coordination and organising, isn't there, to make sure that the communication's right, everyone's got 2 ways, I imagine. How's that sort of flow? Is that always constant?
Yeah. So not every single person had a 2-way, because
that'd be chaos.
Who's got 50-something 2-ways?
Yeah, that's right.
But you were always, one of the Grange staff would have their 2-way, or there'd be one with the group of you or 2 with the group of you. So, you really, the information flowed really well. Everyone knew sort of what they were meant to be doing, or you found out pretty quickly what you were supposed to be doing. You just sort of followed the leader in that regard. And look, it's a credit to Rowan. It would have taken months and months of prep to get all this right. Him, his assistant Jeff, his administration assistant Rebecca, it would have taken them months and months to do, but everything just ran like clockwork.
Did you at the back end of everything? And I saw it the first year, if I'm not mistaken, it was the same thing on the 18th green. All the ground staff get together after the end of the tournament, and you all sort of get out there and congratulate you. A big weight off your shoulders of everything that you've achieved, and it's a big smiling moment, isn't it, where everyone come together on the 18th green after everything was done presentation wise for golf.
Yes, I was gonna mention that at some stage. I'll just make sure I did. But that last day where it ended up being the double playoff hole.
Of course. I forgot. Yeah. I haven't even thought about what happened. When I was talking about the golf, it was wild.
All the core staff, obviously, we had that inside the ropes access to the 8th green. We watched it from the left-hand side, just next to that bunker there. So we were meters away from the action. It was incredible. And then, after the golf had moved off, after the Rippers won, we were all celebrating on the green, and there was still the gallery and everything quite full of people, and they're cheering and applauding. It was, such a cool moment. Definitely one of the best moments in my professional career, I'd say.
That's pretty awesome. Was it a feeling of pride at everything that the team, personally and as a collective? I guess I'm assuming so, because I could see the smile on your faces of you guys, and that double playoff for the Rippers to get up at the. I mean, it couldn't have been written any better. And for the volunteers, for you guys, of everything you'd done for the week, what a way to cap it off, right? That would have been pretty. It would have been pretty exciting, obviously, I'm sure. I know it was emotional for Rowan. Was it the same? What was that feeling like? You mentioned it was pretty special. Did you see that from everyone?
Yeah, maybe I'm a little bit weird, but for me, like you mentioned Rowan. Like, Rowan was pretty emotional, and you saw how much it meant to their staff, because we come in for the week and we help, but they've been putting in months and months of effort into this, sacrificing time with their families, like doing massive hours. And so that moment's sort of for them, in my eyes.
Okay.
It was cool. It was exciting. Like, as I said, it was really cool, but seeing them, how much it meant to them, that was sort of like, for me, that was sort of their moment. It was just awesome to see how much it meant to all of them. And I was just happy to be a small part of it.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And that's the essence of being part of a big team like that and producing something special. Because at the back end of all of this, we've come to see what LIV is in Australia, and I can only speak for that because I've been to both of them, and that has been probably the flagship event, as a lot of commentators talk about, for LIV. And I think it would be pretty special sitting on the outside watching and seeing the details, seeing the work, getting an idea. I got to see Rowan, and I caught up with him on his own, travelling between, I think, you guys and the shed. And we were walking, I think we were walking back to the shed, and it was just him and I. And I could see the emotion in his eyes and on his face, and it was quite almost overwhelming to see. He was just so proud of everyone that came together that were able to help do what they did, and everyone worked together as a team. And I don't think we really said a great deal of words there. It was just, I just said to him, mate, congratulations on everything you'd achieved. And because when you go there and you've got an idea of what it must take, and I don't know because I haven't done it, but what it must take, as you've described, to see it all come together in concert and be executed so well by everyone is quite profound when you're there, because it's not a small space. It is a big event. There's so much infrastructure, and Rowan's detailed that in the podcast, and I've interviewed him in the past. There is just so much work for so long a period of time leading up to that. And this goes extrapolating it out, because we're talking about this in terms of LIV, but this is really also tournament golf prep in any of the major tournaments in Australia, whether it be the men's or women's. Anything on this scale, there is so many months of work, like you just said before, for the on-site staff that's their home club that they work at. To then have that all come together and executed so well, and at the end of it, you just go, oh my God, we all did this together, and it was just an amazing achievement. I look from the outside in, and just every time I sit back and I smile, and I think everyone involved should be so incredibly proud of what they've done and been a part, like you said, a small part, but a part nonetheless in that tournament. And we have a few of them now in the year to look forward to watching and going to and attending, and it's a great thing to be able to do now, but probably more so than years gone by.
100%. You hit the nail on the head. And I think another point you just made there, it doesn't really matter what event it is. Like, LIV is obviously, like, for me, it was pretty special just because of the enormity of the event. And that's what LIV golf is supposed to be. It's big and loud. But it doesn't matter what event it is. If that's the biggest event your club's going to host, you still put in that same amount of effort, and you still put that, that amount of yourself into it. And it means the same amount to to you. So it's just a cool environment to be around.
It's pretty awesome, mate. It's pretty good to hear that someone of your level of experience, being a superintendent, gets that out of going to those events. It's not just, I suppose, more inexperienced greenkeepers. It's even experienced greenkeepers like you that be part of it. And I'm sure there's those that at the Australian Opens and other things as well that we have throughout the year too. I don't know, but I assume that's part of it. Were you surprised overall on the scale of just what was involved to bring a LIV together, having been on the inside for that week?
So the tournament week itself, I wasn't surprised with what they could achieve, just purely because of how many volunteers and how many of their staff they had. Like, once I saw that and the machinery in that, I knew that on that week you'd be able to produce something pretty special. But I was more surprised when I learned, as we spoke about, the work that went into the lead-in from the core staff. Like, massive hours. Every detail of the properties looked at in some way or another, because the holes that aren't in play are car parking, and they're there for structures and storage and stuff. The most surprising thing for me was certainly the structures, like the huge amount of structures, signage, seating, everything else that goes into hosting an event like that. And I'm told it was significantly bigger than the 2023 event, which is hard to get your head around.
It was. It was. I can say that from someone on the outside that went to both. It was, and I was staggered. When I walked in second time, I was like, holy shit, it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and I was the same, like walking in there that first afternoon, I was just like, wow, like, look at this place. And then when you see it full of people later in the week, it's just like, this is unbelievable.
Did you get much? What's the time like in between your stints? How do the stints work in that? Do you mentioned the early morning? Do you go back in the afternoons, and what type of work is involved in that, if any?
Yeah, so 4:30 in the morning, and I think we went till about 10:30, and then we would have our breakfast, and then your time was yours till, I think we went back at about 2:30 most days, until the shotgun starts happened, and it was probably a bit later.
Yep.
And that was it was really cruisy the afternoons. It was either, doing something in the veg, or blowing, or doing divots. Divots was probably one of the most enjoyable jobs for the week as well in the afternoons. You're in a group of 6 or 7. You're just walking, having a chat, reflecting on the day, divoting fairways. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So you did your biggest stint in the morning, and then the afternoons were just sort of pretty cruisy. The stint meter would go out again in the afternoons. Hand watering would happen in the afternoons. Pogo readings. So, but everyone else was just doing sort of detail stuff.
Yep. Because it's all in the detail. Everything's got to be perfect.
That's right.
It's a pretty special thing to see those little bits and pieces done to get it all to come together, mate. I'm curious. I'm sure we all probably know the answer out of all this one, but from your perspective, was it worth it? And what did you get out of it from your level of experience?
Yeah, in a nutshell, yes, absolutely, it was worth it. Rowan and his team, I think, I've spoken about it already, but really want to reiterate this point. They really went out of their way to look after volunteers. Like, I never felt lost or out of place. Everything was so well organised. All their staff are really helpful, showing you where you're supposed to be, what you're meant to be doing. You were fed every morning, like breakfast, you got lunch, sometimes dinners. There was a coffee van set up at the shed in the mornings. The core staff got like a little spot roped off in the 11th hole with some chairs overlooking the 11th green, so we could just watch golf throughout the day, which was
pretty cool. I saw that area. That was pretty cool up high on the dune there.
Yeah, that's right. So that was a really good vantage point. I took a photo because Steve Smith was on the 11th green, and just the crowd surrounding that green. And I think I tweeted it. It was the Steve Smith effect or whatever, and that actually ended up on the broadcast.
So did it?
Yeah. So that was pretty cool, and that was because we were up on the hill there, and I was able to take that shot. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Nice. That's cool. they're all that's pretty awesome, mate. And I suppose leading into finishing up the conversation about your experience there at LIV, and I'll mention it now, is having spoken to Rowan just a little bit before we've recorded, and asked him about this year because of the change of date coming into 2025 event now being in February and not April. It's a little bit more now into summertime. I suppose we're probably unsure how that date change is going to go in terms of getting volunteers. It's going to be hotter for general greenkeepers to they've got to worry about their own courses in a little bit. But I said to Rowan, I'd happily put a shout out to on the podcast to say if anyone is interested in volunteering this year, mate, on the back of what you've had to say, I think it'd be a great thing for people to jump down into and get that experience at certainly at the LIV event in Adelaide, but also being part of a team that's led by Rowan at the Grange, because we've seen what it can produce from a tournament perspective. So anyone out there who's interested, and Rowan said that it was okay to do that on the podcast. So if you are interested in going to LIV Adelaide next year, which is in February, you can get in touch in terms of wanting to be a volunteer, putting your name down to be a volunteer at the event for LIV Adelaide at the Grange. So Rowan said the best way is to do that through the ASTMA, so that's the national body, the Australian Sports Turf Managers Association. They're going to have some ways to get through to contact them, and then that'll go through to Rowan to be able to work out just how many people and volunteers they'll be able to accept and be part of the team for the tournament next year. Am I leading you into asking if you're going to have a crack at it again, mate, or is that enough for you for this moment for top level stuff?
Yeah, there's no way. Look, Cranbourne Golf Club are very good to me, and they let me go and do that. But there's no way A, they would let me, and B, I just wouldn't feel right as the course superintendent leaving my team in the middle of summer to go and work a tournament.
That's fair enough.
Like, I can't plug this enough. If you're an apprentice, if you're a course staff at another course, and you are able to do it, you're on a bigger team perhaps, and you feel up to it, definitely go and do it. The event itself is just so cool, so different. It doesn't feel like a golfing event. As I said before, I'm not a huge golfer, and I'm not a huge golf fan, but it was one of the best sporting events that I've ever attended. I've been to a lot of sporting events, and just in terms of Rowan's a really good guy, really down to earth, gives a lot of time to each volunteer. He makes sure he comes up and has a chat to you, and just the whole team, the whole environment. It's just an awesome week, and there's a lot of repeat volunteers there. So clearly it's a pretty cool thing to do.
Mate, as good an endorsement as any for anyone to get involved. And for those people that are thinking about it, think no more, just start, just find that way, get through to the ASTMA, go to their website, you'll find means to be able to get in touch, or you can send them an email and find out how to get in touch to put your name down to be a volunteer at LIV Adelaide. Just talk to your superintendent. Talk to talk to your club if you, depending on what level you are at greenkeeping in the team. See if you can just talk to your. I'm sure that given the opportunity, if you're looking to get some experience for tournament experience preparation, chat to your boss, chat to your supers, and see if they will endorse you to get in touch with the ASTMA and certainly to Rowan, and see if you can put your name down to be involved at LIV. And that more broadly goes to the Australian Summer of Golf this year, because of course we've got the Australian Open. They've already had their call out for volunteers. That's going to be down at Kingston Heath and Victoria Golf Club down there, mate. They're neighbours of yours, the Sandbelt.
Yes.
That's going to be another big year.
Yes. Yep. I don't know if you quite mentioned those courses in the same breath as Cranbourne. I think we're a little bit below that, but yes.
They're neighbours nevertheless.
Yeah.
But that, and also the Australian PGA. So that we've got, along with, I don't know to what level, even the WebEx Players Series has them, people to help. Look, It's fantastic. It's a great experience to learn more, to gain the experience of tournament prep, see something different, learn from other people, and just get that experience under your belt. So I'm putting the shout out to everyone on behalf of Rowan there, as it were, to help in the summer lead up, ready for the February tournament for LIV Adelaide coming in 2025. And mate, you've endorsed that so incredibly well. So mate, thank you. Now you've got, what did you say, the Oz Am?
Yes, so we had it in 2022. This 2025, we're just co-hosting till January. So it's with us and Commonwealth Golf Club. So I suppose while I'm on here, if anyone in Melbourne is listening and they work at a golf course and they feel like coming and giving us a hand over at Cranbourne, you're more than welcome.
Absolutely, mate. Don't suppose. Just get it out there. I'll say it as well. Get in touch with Cranbourne Golf Club and obviously yourself, mate, and to be able to help out. Tell us what's the odds? How long does it go for? I don't know much about golf tournaments in this country because, like you, mate, I'm not a big golf viewer as much as I sort of more enjoy studying golf courses, if that's the right way of saying it. What's the Oz Am and how does that work? Is it over the weekend? Is it over 4 days? How does it work?
Yeah, it's a midweek tournament. I believe there's a practice round on the Sunday this time, but yeah, just a Monday to Friday in the middle of January. We're hosting practice rounds and a couple of days, and then Commonwealth for the final rounds. So,
wow.
I'm happy to take all the help that I can get. But yeah, good experience for my guys. Good experience for me to host a decent event again at Cranbourne.
Yeah. And certainly something that, you're always picking things up. Having heard that you did LIV and seen it, I didn't realise you were having the Oz Am again. So there'll be things that you'll probably have taken away you may not even realise until you get in the thick of that week or the month leading up to the Oz Am. So, mate, that's really impressive that you've done that. You've come back. Now you're gonna have probably an extra bit of knowledge and some skills you can be able to execute and work out, see what works, see what you can do better, see what might not work, and hopefully get that help along the way. So anyone out there you go, in Melbourne and in Adelaide, there's some opportunities there to get a chance to experience something new in tournament preparation. So get amongst it, get in touch with Cranbourne Golf Club and use the ASTMA and get in touch with them if you're interested in LIV Golf Adelaide, or see if there's any opportunities for the Australian summer of the major tournaments, the Oz Open and the PGA, the men's and women's events. There's plenty of stuff going on. So great opportunities out there, and you should all try and get amongst it. Nico Douglas, mate, thank you for that wonderful insight on inside the Greenkeepers Shed, mate. Something a little bit different. I haven't interviewed anyone on this one before, so when you were down there and I saw you down there, I thought this is a great opportunity. So I'm glad we're able to get it across the line.
No problem at all, Steve. I wanted to ask you, but then it just tweaked my memory that Rowan's actually pipped me. I thought I might have been the first repeat customer for you. Well, Rowan has been on twice, hasn't he?
Rowan has been on twice, but I will say this, you've been the twice longest because Rowan's was just a little 10-minute spot in the lead up to LIV Adelaide. So I'll mate, you've been on here twice for 2 full-length interview episodes. There you go.
Mate, I'll take that. Steve, as always, I'm an avid listener of the podcast. I'm a big supporter of yours. Congratulations on the new collaboration with John Deere. That's huge, and keep putting out awesome content.
Mate, thank you so much. I appreciate your support and everyone who listens, but I know that you've been there, mate, for a long time with me, as have a lot of people, mate, and thank you so much for your support ongoing in the backgrounds and lots of things. We've had conversations in the past along the way, mate, and I really appreciate that so greatly. Thank you very much. And yes, I've got to mention, of course, John Deere Golf for Keeper of the Greens, which is, we've got, like I said, 12 months coming. So I've got some great interviews lined up, and I will say this, because I've got to keep sneaking it in there. I'm travelling to Melbourne in October to record with a special. It's going to be a very, very special interview.
One, is it?
Sorry?
In person?
It's an in-person one. I'm travelling to Melbourne for an in-person podcast interview for John Deere Golf Keeper of the Greens, mate. So I'm saying that's all I'm saying here on this one as a little teaser. That's coming out. It's going to come out later in the year. I'm recording it in October, so it'll come out not too far away after that. But it's a pretty big deal. So Yeah, mate, it's getting exciting. We've got lots of things happening, but thank you again, mate, so much for your support. I really appreciate it. And thanks so much for being on and involved with Inside the Greenkeepers Shed on the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast, mate.
No problem, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Cheers. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to Nico Douglas, Superintendent at Cranbourne Golf Club, for his wonderful insight of what it's like to volunteer at a tournament at LIV Adelaide, no less. So, as you heard there, the call-out's there for LIV Adelaide next year in 2025 in February. So, if you are interested, as I mentioned, get out there. I'll put some clickables in the show notes for you for the ASTMA, so you can get there and see if you can put your name down to be a volunteer for LIV Adelaide in February 2025. And like I said, if you're looking to do in other tournaments, don't forget we've got a stack of other tournaments in this country, and that you can put your name down and volunteer as part of the grounds crew if you're a greenkeeper to be involved with and help out on course preparations for those tournaments. But also, and that's like the Australian Open, the Australian PGA. Don't forget there's a WebEx Player Series. I'm sure that there's also some assistance that can be required in those tournaments. And as you heard, don't forget Nico Douglas at Cranbourne Golf Club. He's got the Oz-Am on next year, so he's looking for a little bit of assistance there along the way too. So if it's something you can help out, you're down in Melbourne on the Sandbelt working other nearby courses, just give Nico a shout out and get in touch with him, or get in touch with me and I'll pass your details on. You can also do that. Send me a direct message or private message, whatever, on social media if you like, or even an email, thegolfinggreenkeeper@gmail.com, and I will pass your details on and go from there. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. Thank you to Nico Douglas for being involved in that one, trying to give you a bit of insight into something different, and I really appreciate it. Now, don't forget, next week coming is going to be, and let me just look up the date that's going to be released, just so we're clear on this one. It's going to go out on Monday. It's going to go out on Monday the 23rd is the next episode, the next segment of John Deere Golf Keeper of the Greens, and it's a new state altogether. And it's a ripper yarn, a fantastic guest, something very, very different. I know you're going to enjoy it, and very, very pleased to have John Deere Golf on board again for Keeper of the Greens. So John Deere Golf Keeper of the Greens coming out on that date again on Monday, the 23rd of September. So put it in your diaries, put it in your phone, set yourself a notification. Make sure you've subscribed to the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast, and make sure you get those notifications pinging on your phone so that you're aware when it comes out. The phone will tell you, it'll slap you in the face and say, hey, John Deere Golf Keeper of the Greens is coming out. You're going to want to listen to it. Good lot of fun. So ladies and gentlemen, please share this around to golfers, to anyone interested in golf, anyone interested in greenkeeping or golf course architecture. Got a lot more coming, as I say, trying to get back to that weekly routine for you. That's the goal here. That's what we're trying to do. And also anyone else who might be interested in getting on board in a partnership, involvement with the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast, we have other opportunities on some other segments of the podcast. So John Deere Golf have snapped up Keeper of the Greens, but don't forget we have other segments. We've got Walking the Fairways, we've got the design brief is there as well. So there's some other possibilities and other opportunities if we've got other businesses out there that are interested in being involved, because this is a national podcast. It gets right around to so many people and so many things. So thank you, everyone, for sharing. Please share it around to people you know. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And I'm going to put it out there. I'd like a review. I haven't had a review in a while. So if you've got the opportunity and you've got the time, get in there on your apps and where you're listening to, and see if you can write a review for me. I really appreciate it. 5 stars would be fantastic. I'll just put an order in now. Thank you very much. All right, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. You hit them clean, we'll keep them green, and I'll catch up with you next week.